Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Caribbean countries are receiving their first shipments of COVID-19 vaccines from the COVAX facility. Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and most recently Barbados have all received vaccines from COVAX. St. Lucia is set to receive its first batch on Wednesday, but will countries within the region be able to receive the full amount promised by the COVAX facility?
During a media briefing on Tuesday, the World Health Organization's director made a plea for the equitable production and access to COVID-19 supplies in a bid to help the poorest and most marginalized people on the planet fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Access to vaccines, however, has been a race as to who can dish out the most money to buy out vaccines. Early on in the pandemic, it was established that vaccines would be made available through the COVAX facility, particularly to lower-income funded nations. While COVAX says that it has supplied over 37 million doses to date, its distribution within the region is only just beginning. Barbados was the latest to receive vaccines through the facility.
We've held on to the promise of COVAX, and I've come to you this morning having received the first tranche of Barbados's vaccines, 3% of our population, with respect to the COVID vaccines this morning. But for many globally, this has been a difficult exercise because, as we've seen, the spikes can literally grow. We've not had access even when we are prepared to pay. It is against this background, therefore, that the first call to action of equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines, tests, and treatments within and between countries is one with which we can relate.
Accountant and social commentator Richard Peterkin was asked whether he believed that the facility would be able to procure all the doses promised. While he would not comment on that specific question, he did say that St. Lucians should be grateful that its first tranche of vaccines from COVAX were within reach.
Some people are thinking, oh, it's a different vaccine. To my knowledge, it's not. It's the same AstraZeneca. The difference is that this one is probably made in South Korea by SK Bioscience, compared with the others which were probably made in India. Both, whether it's India or South Korea or Europe for that matter, AstraZeneca is the one who will ensure that in fact they are up to the standard and clinically identical to what it might be no matter where it came from. So I don't think we have any fear in it being a different vaccine. And I think this 24,000 that they will receive tomorrow is going to be reserved for those that have had first jab. So you can be assured, even though there may be other people that want to get there first, there will be other supplies coming in for them to get. This one will be there for that first 24,000 people, so that 13% of the population will have had both jabs by the middle of May. And to that extent, that's great news as we kind of move towards herd immunity.
St. Lucia is set to receive 24,000 doses on Wednesday out of some 74,000 doses in total promised by the facility. For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
A warning is being sent out to Caribbean nations asking them to remain on guard for COVID-19 as it continues to ravage nations around the world. Although countries in the Caribbean, including St. Lucia, are recording a lull in cases, a third wave of the virus is prompting PAHO to ask countries within the region to not get complacent. Rochelle Gonzalez reports.
The Caribbean region is being warned to not get complacent about the drop in the number of cases of COVID-19 as we are not yet out of the woods. According to the director of the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, Dr. Carissa F. Etienne, all countries in the region should continue to be on high alert, warning that the COVID-19 pandemic is as active as ever. This warning was made during a press briefing last week where Dr. Etienne pointed out outbreaks in a few countries in the region, including Paraguay, Uruguay, and Cuba. She stated that this year's outbreaks are of greater magnitude than the ones they faced in 2020. The PAHO director stated that complacency is the key to the continued spread of the virus and urged member states to reinforce surveillance and act at the first sign that cases are rising rather than wait until they are overwhelmed. Meanwhile, coronavirus cases are climbing back up around the world, just as predicted. India has recorded its highest number of COVID-19 cases in a single day since the pandemic began, with more than 100,000 confirmed infections on Easter Sunday, April 4th. South Korea's health leaders are warning of another surge after the country recorded more than 500 new cases for the fifth straight day. In Europe, a third wave of hospitalizations and deaths has already arrived. COVID-19 variants are mostly to blame for the new rises, but as U.S. officials have warned, lax safety measures are giving these variants even more strength. Doctors are worried that COVID-19 may end up being like influenza, which requires a new vaccine every year due to the rapid mutation of the strains. Since January 1st, 2021, there have been over 19.7 million cases reported in the Americas, and the region has lost more than 475,000 persons to COVID-19. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Thank you, Rochelle. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, advised that effective the 1st of April 2021, the Royal Bank of Canada's RBC operations in St. Lucia, Antigua and Barbuda, the Commonwealth of Dominica, Montserrat, and St. Kitts and Nevis have ceased, having been acquired by the Consortium of National Banks. The Consortium of Banks comprises First National Bank, St. Lucia Limited, Antigua Commercial Bank Limited, National Bank of Dominica Limited, Bank of Montserrat Limited, and the Bank of Nevis Limited. Thursday, the 1st of April, was the first day of the transition. As of Tuesday, the 6th of April, the former RBC branches will no longer operate under the RBC brand. The former RBC branches will remain open to the public, but each acquiring bank will make decisions regarding the future of these branches in the coming months. Accountant Richard Peterkin has weighed in on this issue.
I believe it's good news because you know, the First National, which used to be cooperative, it used to be the penny bank, has grown over the years. But its growth is, you know, like any bank, has been somewhat constricted by the nature of the bank and the size of the bank. So they have been looking at ways over the years to expand the bank because, you know, banking is a competitive industry and they have to compete with with Bank of St. Lucia and the other foreign commercial banks, and one of the ways, you know, you can grow by what they call organically and just hope that you will grow big and bigger and bigger, but that's not easy in a competitive market. Or you can grow by essentially going out and acquiring other banks and other businesses, which is the route that the First National obviously elected to do. So even before this acquisition of the Royal Bank branches, they had been looking at a kind of a merger. And this opportunity came on board. And so together with the other indigenous banks in the region, they're not going on their own, but the way it's structured is you know, they will probably have a bigger say in respect of the St. Lucia assets. So they went for this. Royal Bank clearly indicated that it wanted to come out of the Caribbean. And so this was a great opportunity, which one or two other people had expressed interest in. Fortunately, at the end of the day, the indigenous banks in the OECS were the ones that won out. And that, you know, it takes sometimes up to a year for these acquisitions and these, you know, these mergers and so on to be approved. It's an approval process that ensures that Central Bank looks at, you know, the due diligence, makes sure that the people that are buying are capable of handling what is necessary. And clearly all the approvals have now been given.
That was accountant Richard Peterkin. Over the Easter weekend, the island was placed under a tight curfew from 7 p.m. to 4 a.m. on Friday, the 2nd of April, from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. on Saturday, the 3rd of April, and from 3 p.m. to 4 a.m. on Easter Sunday and Monday. The announcement of the curfew adjustment was met with mixed response between those who opposed the idea, those who supported, and even those who believed it was too lenient. Now that the curfew has returned to normal time from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m., the Hot 7 team took to the streets to ask the public how they fared during the Easter weekend under the curfew.
Nothing at all. The curfew time gave me time to rest and clean and do things I was supposed to do. The curfew time don't do no harm to me. And I like that curfew. I rest, and I rest. peace.
Honestly, speaking, it is something that it's not something new with the Easter season and stuff, right? But the only the only issue that I have, yes, it is to protect citizens from from getting the virus, right, for the 3 o'clock. But the only thing I say, the Monday, I think they could have, like, instead of the holiday, like they should have, like, just have it as a working day.
You have to follow the rules. You have to follow the rules. If the rules there for you to follow, you have to follow it. You cannot go against it. So it was okay with me.
Well, I gotta say nothing about the curfew because it was all right. I start my home, I sleep, I eat. But the only problem I have with that curfew, the parents have to take that very serious because they have some police and some warden or whatever. They passing house to house with big guns and SSU and everything looking for people. And I think to myself, that's not a crime, okay? If you're not wearing a mask, I don't feel that's a serious crime like that for police, SSU, and also the wardens have to pass house on house with big guns until a little child have to hold a gun from a police. I disagree with that.
I cannot complain because apart from going to church, I was able to stay home and take a rest. So I cannot complain at all. So I had a good Easter, quiet Easter. And then I watched the television. There were many nice things about Jesus Christ. It makes me love Jesus more. Because Jesus really suffered for our sins. So we should be grateful to our Father in heaven for giving us Jesus to save us from Satan.
Wash my hand.
Yeah, go ahead.
Stay a distance. And that's all. I have things rubbing my hand with it. That's it. Stay away from crowd.
What, they had a curfew? I didn't even recognize that, my girl, they had a curfew. Did they really have a curfew?
That affected me very badly because I had to stay home, nothing doing. You understand? And especially how I work. I'm a baker. I have my local bakery there. I had to close before my time and go home. You understand? I could not do anything for Easter weekend. And I find that really outrageous, man, in St. Lucia.
I enjoy my Easter weekend, but it could have been a little better, but so far so good, no complaints.
You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Still to come, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago tests positive for COVID-19 and Playlist 42 by the Prime Minister.